This is class number 4, Seattle Prepares. We are talking about utilities and also sanitation. There is my name, Ann Forrest, my email, seattleprepares@gmail.com, and I am glad you're here. We're talking about utilities. When the earth shakes, pipes break, and that is all of the pipes. Water, gas, and sewer. Last week we talked about water. We're going to talk about gas and sewer tonight. And this is a picture I found somewhere, some archives, the wooden pipe, somewhere in between our water source, which is those watersheds out to the east of us, and our city. Not too long ago, my understanding is the last wooden pipe was replaced, like literally within the last 10 or 20 years. Our water system is very old. There's more of our water system, just interesting pictures. And this is the inside of one of those wooden pipes. Water pipes are really, really old. This is what you should do after an earthquake. This is your checklist. Once the ground has stopped shaking, get up very, very carefully, check on people and pets around you. The next thing you're going to do is manage your utilities. We talked about water. You're going to collect water while you can, if you can. And that's the new guidance. Collect water while you can, if you can. If this is new to you, if you weren't here for last week's class, please go back and listen to that recording. The guidance isn't that much different, but there is a step in there in between turning off the water and the earthquake. And you can collect water while you can, if you can, and then you can use it for drinking water if you can treat it. So, we're going to talk about natural gas tonight and electricity, the other two utilities besides water. Fires are very common after earthquakes, super, super common because of natural gas leaks. Makes perfect sense. Fire departments coordinate the immediate response. At least that's how it is in Seattle. And I would assume it's probably similar in lots of big cities that are sitting in earthquake country. Because fires are so common in Seattle, the fire department is responsible for that immediate response after the earthquake. Because fires are so common, we need them to take the lead and get those fires out before we can do a whole lot else. This is a video that was done by the Office of Emergency Management here in Seattle. I really like it. I think it's very smart. And it shows you how to turn off the gas to your building, and it'll tell you why. That's probably the most important.
It is vital that all household members know how to shut off natural gas. Start by finding your gas meter. If you have natural gas service, a meter like this one will be located somewhere outside, along the perimeter of your house or apartment building. Next, make sure everyone knows when to turn off the natural gas. You only want to shut off the natural gas if you have some reason to believe there is a leak. Either 1, you smell natural gas, which is a sulfur or rotten egg-like odor, or 2, you hear natural gas leaking, which will be a hissing sound. If you do believe that there is a gas leak, locate a wrench, which you will need to shut the gas off. Make sure everyone knows where to find the wrench in your home so they can quickly access it. You could even keep the wrench outside, located with the gas meter. Make sure you regularly clear debris and bushes to make sure that you have an easy path to your gas meter. Locate the shutoff valve. The shutoff valve looks like this. When the gas is on, the valve is parallel to the pipe. To turn the gas off, place the wrench around the shutoff valve and turn the valve 90 degrees until it is running crosswise to the pipe. You can turn the valve either way, just as long as you stop when it is running perpendicular to the pipe. If you have turned off your gas, for your safety, do not turn it back on yourself. Contact your gas company to do so.
You're only going to shut off your gas if you smell gas, which is a sulfur or rotten egg smell, or you hear it hissing. If neither of those are happening, do not turn off your gas. Do not rob yourself of that utility if you don't need to. You want that gas to be able to cook, heat your house, or whatever. Don't deprive yourself of that if you don't have to. This is a picture of different tools you could use. It doesn't matter which one you use, they're all equally great. Just find the one that fits that valve on your gas meter. Find something that fits that, and then think seriously about putting that tool nearby. You don't want to be scrambling around trying to find that tool if you're trying to shut your gas off. So think about tying that tool to the gas meter so it's there if you need it. Maybe hide it on the backside so that nobody sees it and accidentally messes with your gas meter. But identify that tool that you're going to need and put it someplace where you and your household members know where it is so you can turn it off. Like they said in the video, don't turn your gas back on once you've turned it off. Call the authorities and have them do it, especially if you suspected a leak, because they need to fix that before you turn it back on. We are going to talk about seismic gas shutoff valves. So this happens to be one. It is installed in between the gas meter and your building. That's where this one goes. Again, it's a seismic gas shutoff valve. When the earth shakes, this thing stops the gas flowing to your house.
You know where your gas meter is?
Maybe. I think I do, but I should ask.
Yep, our gas meter. You see, when the earth moves, so will our furnace, water heater, and gas lines. Just one crack could send natural gas pouring into our home. Just one spark, and our house could go up in flames.
If you look at damage resulting from earthquakes, gas fires are far and away the biggest cause of that.
That's where this comes into play.
This is a mechanical valve.
It's called an earthquake automated gas shutoff valve. In the event of a magnitude 5.2 or larger earthquake, the device automatically shuts off your gas.
So there is a steel ball that's seated in a pocket. At a certain amount of shaking, that ball drops and it plugs the flow of gas.
So no more gas flowing into your home.
So it reacts to shaking. It's about a magnitude of 5.2 or greater. You do have to hire a plumber to do that for you. So these are just different models, but same kind of thing. There's a little silver ball up here at the top. If enough shaking happens, it drops down and it stops the flow of gas through these devices. So that's one. It's a seismic shutoff valve. This other one is an excess flow valve. As far as I know, they're underground. And what it does is it's a really simple device. Again, both of these are very simple devices, just mechanical. There's no battery in them. There's no electronics or anything like that. This one senses a change in pressure on one side of this device. And here's the device. One side of the device, if the pressure is different than the other side, it will shut this off. And so it keeps gas from flowing. And it could be that there's a break on either side. I think that's kind of how it works. But if there's a difference in the pressures on either side of this, it will close. So this is more, there was an accident and somebody accidentally cut the gas line. And so the pressure on one side of this valve is very different than on the other side. And so it shuts down. This isn't an earthquake sensitive device. You know, you could shake this and it doesn't change it. What makes this thing tick is when the pressure is different on one side versus the other. So excess flow valve, it's just to make you aware. Again,
I have a question. If we really don't need to turn off the gas unless we smell it or there's hissing, what's the advantage of having something like that automatic shut-off valve? Because it's difficult to get it back on. So I just want to be sure I understand that.
Yeah, mostly it's if you're not home. Let's say that you're off at work or the grocery store or whatever, there's an earthquake, there's a leak, and you're not around to shut your gas off. Those things will do it for you.
And can I comment on something?
Yeah, sure.
So I posted in the chat, I actually had one of these installed myself, and it actually, the earthquake shakes the ball so it drops it off. It drops it and blocks the flow to your house. But the way he described it to me, it still lets a little bit through. So that way you can still smell in your house if there's a leak. And if so, then you go to the meter and use the wrench and shut it off. But if there is no leak, you can rotate it back yourself and then you have gas, right? And then obviously if you smell a leak, then you shut it off. But that's the advantage is it limits the amount of gas that comes in should there be a leak, and then you can turn it back on yourself.
Excellent. Yeah, great explanation. I've had some people that like had one of these on their house and the plumber or whoever installed it, or maybe it was a previous owner, had it installed and they didn't really know how it worked. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure you could reset that yourself. With the idea being that, say there's kids in the neighborhood and they're playing soccer, and one of them hits the soccer ball and then it hits your gas meter and knocks this little stainless steel ball off of its perch, and now your gas is stopped. Well, if you know what happened, the kids were out there playing soccer, you know there hasn't been an earthquake, you're not smelling gas or anything like that, then you, like he said, you have that ability to put that ball back up into place and let the gas flow again. But not everybody knows that you can do that, because either they weren't the person that installed it, or the person that installed it didn't teach them. And I could be wrong. I've never had one installed. Maybe there's some that you can't reset. Utilities, we're talking about natural gas, and now let's talk about electricity. You're going to turn it off at the main fuse box or electric panel if and only if, because again, you don't want to rob yourself of having electricity flowing into your building if there's no reason to not have that. So only turn off electricity if you see sparks or broken or frayed wires, or you smell burning insulation, which is kind of a plastic smell. If that's not going on, leave your electricity on. Unless there's some reason to turn it off, don't mess with it.
Electrical sparks could start a fire, igniting natural gas or propane fumes or other combustible material. Downed wires can also create a risk of shock or electrocution if a person comes in contact with energized lines. Teach all responsible household members how to shut off the electricity to the entire house. For your safety and to prevent electrical shock, always shut off all the individual circuits before shutting off the main circuit breaker. When turning electricity back on, first turn on the main breaker while all the individual breakers are off. Then turn on each of the individual breakers.
What's in the homework is actually something you have to read. I couldn't find this video, strangely. Something to think about: do not mess with your fuse box if there is water anywhere near it. Don't stand in water and mess with your electric panel. Water. Collect water while you can, if you can. Natural gas, turn it off only if you smell gas or hear it hissing. And electricity, kind of the same thing. Turn it off if you see sparks, have broken or frayed wiring, or smell burning insulation. Two things: if you're going to mess with your electric panel, first of all, make sure you're not standing in water. Second of all, put one hand behind you and only touch that box with one hand. We are going to move to sanitation. This is a big one. It's going to be super, super, super important if we have a big event like an earthquake or a massive power outage that lasts for a while. We've talked a little bit about how, even though our water system is gravity fed, moving sewage around, treating sewage, all that kind of stuff takes electricity, it takes pumps. So our sewer system cannot last for very long if we have a really long power outage. So let's talk about the city's guidance about how we handle human waste. As always, when the earth shakes, pipes break. And if we have turned off running water to our buildings because we want to keep the water inside that hot water tank in our homes, in our buildings, so that we can use it for drinking water if we need it, so we have no running water to our building, we have no flushing toilets. Sanitation failure after an earthquake is immediate and long term. Those pipes are in the ground. It takes a long time to dig them up and fix them. And if it's a large scale earthquake and there's lots of homes or lots of buildings that need new sewer pipes, lots of cities that need new sewer pipes, we're all going to be scrambling for sewage pipes. So it will take weeks to months to years to get all of our sewer lines fixed. And if you think about it, if we're smart, we will put in earthquake resilient, earthquake resistant sewer pipes. So we don't want to just put any old pipe in the ground. We want to put something in the ground that's going to help us recover from the next earthquake in a gazillion years. So immediate issue, and it's a long-term solution. So this is the guidance from the city. They want us to double bag our waste, 2 plastic bags. Store it safely outside in a designated bin. as a homeowner, or if you're in a condo or an apartment, you need to designate one container outside, and it can be your compost bin, it can be your recycle bin, it can be a regular trash can. It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to put a sign on it that says human waste or poop or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Designate it as the only thing that goes in that bin is poop, and the city will pick it up. But when they pick it up, they need to treat it a little bit differently than they do regular trash to keep people from getting sick. So that's why we have to be really careful about our poop. And I'll explain more in a bit. So this is their guidance. Put it outside. Make sure you mark the bin that it's in so they know what they're doing when they pick it up. And they will pick it up eventually. This is going to take a while. It's not going to be something that happens in the first week after a big earthquake. The limit for most of us humans is going to be storage space. Do we have enough space outside, especially if you're in a big tower and there's lots of folks living in a very condensed area? We're going to run out of space to store our human waste, and plastic bags are going to be an issue. We'll talk about both of those. Options are use your own toilet if you can get to it. This is a toilet in my old home. This is a 13-gallon plastic kitchen trash bag, nothing fancy. If this is something you'd like to try in your own toilet, make sure you try now. I actually tried this. This is literally a picture of mine, and this plastic bag doesn't fit. This toilet is very long and skinny, and the plastic bag would not stay in there. That would not be a really good solution for my family. And I only figured that out by trying it. So you could do this. The smell from human waste is for the most part when we mix pee and poo together. Pee stinks a lot. Poo doesn't stink that much. After a while, it's kind of like dog poop. It stinks immediately, right after they go, but a little bit later, you can't smell it that much at all. Human feces is the same thing. Poo does not smell that much, but mixing these two really stinks. So I'm going to talk to you about a twin bucket toilet invented by other brilliant people, and it's been used a couple places across the world, especially after earthquakes. Works really well.
When the ground shakes, pipes break. Remember that. When the ground shakes, pipes break. And if sewer pipes break or water pipes break, we are not going to be able to use our toilets like normal. And that is very, very common and probably will happen. The pipes in the ground need some work. Every time they're dug up for some kind of repair, the city puts back in much more resilient pipe, but to pull all those out and replace them all is just too large of a job for the city to take on at one time. So we are replacing them piecemeal. So the problem with not having sewer pipes and not having water pipes that are working is that drinking water is super important, and also sanitation is really important. It's something that is immediate. You're going to need to go to the bathroom the first day after the earthquake, and it's a long-term solution. We can't pull up all those pipes and put down new ones overnight. So it will be days to weeks before any of us have a better sanitation system. So this is something that you and your family need to think about how you're going to handle it at home. And the system I want to talk to you about is the twin bucket toilet system. So just like the name, twin buckets. If your household is coordinated enough to split up these two products, then you're in good shape. And the value of splitting them up is you can decrease the amount you have to store. Because again, this is a long-term problem. You're going to have to store the byproducts of our human bodies for a long time. So let's talk about urine. This one's the simple one. Urine is mostly water and mostly sterile. What you can do is pee in the bucket and throw it outside. Men, you can just go outside and pee on the ground. But if you'd like to sit down, this is how you do it. This is a pool noodle, or pipe installation works really well. A long noodle, you're going to cut it in half, and you're going to make sure that there's a slit down the length side, just one side of it. This goes around the lip of the bucket, and it cushions it so that you're not sitting on the lip of a bucket. So this is your urine bucket, your pee bucket. It is good to go just like it is. So you sit down, you do your business, you pee into here, the toilet paper goes into the poo bucket. So we'll talk about that in a second. If you have any water that you're not planning on drinking, like it's coming out of a pool or a hot tub or something like that, you know that you cannot get it clean enough to drink, then add some water to this swish it around, and throw it out on the ground. This will not hurt anything. So that's how you handle pee. This is the stuff we really are concerned about after big disasters. This is what makes people sick. This is where the pathogens are. So we are really, really concerned about containing this and keeping people healthy after a large disaster. So let's talk about how to do that. Again, pool noodle. So you're going to cushion the rim. And for this one, we're going to put 2 bags over it. These are 2 plastic bags, just regular 13-gallon trash bags, kitchen trash bags. A 13-gallon bag fits really well inside a 5-gallon bucket. So I have 2 of them. I'm going to put it over the pool noodle just to make sure that stays nice and clean. And then I'm ready to go. So family members are going to sit down. They're going to use this poo bucket. They're going to sanitize their hands afterwards because we want everybody to stay nice and healthy. After every time you use these 2 plastic bags, you're going to put something on top. And this isn't something you need to store. You don't need to buy this stuff. You'll be able to figure out what you can use after a disaster. So some examples are kitty litter, sand, ashes, dirt, flour, a cake mix you're never going to make, baking soda, dry laundry detergent, anything like that. Just sprinkle it over the top. The reason for that is you're trying to dry out the poo and you're trying to keep down the smell. So there's nothing fancy about it. You're just trying to help the system be a little less icky. So family member sits down, does their business, sprinkles a little bit over the top, and you can use these 2 bags for a while, whether it's 1 day or 3 days, depending on the size of your family. You can use these 2 bags for a while so you won't run out, which is a really good part. So once you think this is full enough, and that's about halfway, you want to take both bags out. You're going to squeeze out all the air because, again, this system is really good because it reduces the amount that you have to store. So squeeze out all the air, tie it off, and you're going to put it outside. You're going to put it out in a compost bin, a recycle bin, your regular trash can, whatever you have where you can keep it safe from kids and rodents. So the goal is to put this outside and the city will pick it up eventually. That is the guidance to us. They will pick it up eventually. So the other things I have in the twin bucket toilet besides hand sanitizer and those plastic bags, disinfecting wipes. You want to keep this whole system really clean and keep your family healthy. Disposable gloves are a nice idea. Toilet paper, maybe some feminine hygiene products if you want to store those in here. Another option is to buy a toilet seat cover. These can be found in camping stores. This is meant to fit on a 5-gallon bucket, so it works really well. One of the difficult things I think is that once you snap it onto one of these buckets, it's a little difficult to get off, so you need some decent hand strength, and it might rip the plastic bags, but things like this are available if you're interested.
Found a toilet seat cover that fits really well in these 5-gallon buckets and it comes off really easily. So the one I originally had, like I said, it was difficult to get on a bucket, even harder to get off, but I have a model I will send in the follow-up to this video. If you're interested in buying one of those seats, it is very fancy and it's much more comfortable. Somebody in the chat had asked whether or not we can dig a hole and bury it. The city's guidance is do not burn or bury poo. Burning it just releases lots of pathogens into the air, and burying it, we are too close to our water table and our water systems to do that safely and not greatly impact our environment. So bag it up. 2 plastic bags, nothing fancy. These aren't compostable bags or anything, just kitchen trash bags. Bag it up, put it outside. The city will pick it up eventually. On the screen, you have a couple fancy options if you're interested in this and don't want to balance on a bucket. This one right here is very, very collapsible. This one is a folding chair with a seat on it. Again, very collapsible. This one probably collapses. If you're interested, if you have the space, those are some nice options. Hopefully, we'll never need any of this. Next week, contacting loved ones and a get home bag, stuff you should have in your car, at work, in your commuter bag, whatever, to help you get home as comfortably as possible if you have to walk from wherever you are and we have a big power outage or an earthquake. That's all for tonight. Everybody, please look at your homework. Please think about how you're going to handle your twin bucket issues. Make sure your family knows how to turn off gas and electricity. I will see you all next Wednesday.